Hey guys, this is 6.7. So in previous lessons, we were working on factoring. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to continue practicing factoring. Factoring is the hard part. After you have factored your two binomials, we're then going to set each of those binomials to 0 and solve for x. Okay, so it's just a review of factoring, and then we're going to add what I would call one step to solve for x, but it might be multi-step, but it's stuff that you already know how to do, and it's much easier than the actual factoring part. So thank you for watching. All right, 6.7. To solve equations using factoring, we are going to use what is called the zero product principle. The zero product principle just says that if you are multiplying two terms, we'll call the first term A and we'll call the first term B. If you're multiplying two terms and the answer is 0, either A is equal to 0 because 0 times B will equal 0, or B is equal to 0, B times A, or anything, or sorry, B is 0. 0 times A equals 0 because anything times 0 is 0. So if A is 100, 100 times 0 will be 0. If A is x squared times 0 will still be 0, okay? So the zero product principle just says that if we have an equation set equal to 0, the two parts of the equation, one of them is already 0. And so if we separate each part and set it equal to 0, we can find out what x is. And that x that we find will make the whole equation true because 7x equals 0. Divide both sides by 7, x is 0. And then if we think about that, 7 times 0 is 0. 8 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 is -3, but we're still multiplying that -3 by 7. 7 times -3 is a -21, but we're also still multiplying it by 0, and -21 times 0 is 0, okay? It's called the zero product principle. We need the whole equation to be equal to 0. We're solving by factoring because the equation is already set equal to 0. If it's not set equal to 0, set it equal to 0, okay? If A times B equals 2, what do we know about A or B? We can't know anything. We can guess. We can say A is 2 and B is 1. Or we can say A is 1/2 and B is 4, right? And those will be true, but there's not definitely one answer that will always be. A will always be 1 no matter what B is, and it will equal 2. That's not true, right? You can always say here that X is 0, right? Because all of this, doesn't matter what answer you get, times 7 times 0 will end up with 0. So this only works if it is already equal to 0, okay? So solving an equation by factoring, step 1, make sure the equation is already set equal to 0. If it's not, set it equal to 0. Factor it completely, which is what we spent the last 2 lessons on, and then set each factor equal to 0 and solve for the variable, okay? You might not have to do all of the steps. All right, so we're already set equal to 0 for this first example, x minus 4 quantity times x plus 5 quantity. Good. We're already set equal to 0, which is step 1. Step 2 is completely factor, which is actually already done, right? We factored it to x minus 4 times x plus 5. Set each factor equal to 0 is the step we're on. So we're on step 3 and question 3. All it means is we take each factor, this is one of the factors, set each factor equal to 0. Here's the other factor, set it equal to 0, okay? X minus 4 equals 0, solve for x. 4 is being subtracted from x, so how do we solve? How do we cancel that out? We add 4. X is 4. Good. X plus 5 equals 0, solve for x. It's being combined with 5, so we subtract 5. Anything we do to the left side, we have to do to the right side. 5 minus 5 just leaves us with that x, and 0. X plus 0 is just x. 0 minus 5 is -5. You're done, okay? And why does this work? We can prove it, okay? X is 4. So I'm going to take that original x minus 4 times x plus 5 is 0, put in the 4, and remember you're replacing both variables with that x we found. X is 4, so now we have 4 minus 4 times the quantity 4 plus 5. 4 minus 4 is 0. Remember, it's in parentheses. That means multiply. 4 plus 5 is 9. 0 times 9 equals 0. That is true. Okay. You can try the other one. Take that original equation, replace it with -5. Make sure it does still equal 0. Okay. We're just checking our answer. So it was x minus 4 times x plus 5 is 0, -5. -5 minus 4 times -5 plus 5. -5 minus 4 is a -9. -5 plus 5 is 0. -9 times 0 is 0. That's why it works. It turns each answer turns one of the factors into 0. No matter what it turns this factor into, 0 times this will equal 0. That's why it works. All right. Next one, step 1, set the equation equal to 0. It is already set equal to 0. Step 2, completely factor. These are factored because there's a multiple, there's a binomial here being multiplied by a binomial here. Set each factor equal to 0. 6y plus 23 is 0. 7y plus 29 is 0. Solve each side. Y is being multiplied by 6 and 23 is being added to it. Subtract 23. 6y equals -23. Divide by 6. I almost said y, didn't I? And what we have is y equals -23/6. If you can simplify it, simplify it. I don't think you can simplify a -23 divided by 6. Good. 7y plus 29, subtract the 29. 7y equals -29, divide by 7. Y equals -29/7. And you're done. Because you can't divide 29 by 7. Can't simplify that. Good. All right, here we have 7x times the quantity 8x minus 3 equals 0. It's already set equal to 0. It's already factored because we have the factor 7x and we have the factor 8x minus 3. 7x is 0. Divide by 7. X is 0 divided by 7 is 0. Good. Then we have 8x minus 3 equals 0. Add 3. 8x equals 3. X equals 3/8. Number 6, we have 3 factors. Do you see them? We have the factor x, set it equal to 0. And we don't even need to solve, we're done. X is 0 is one of the answers. Next factor is 16x plus 4, set it equal to 0. It becomes 16x equals -4. X equals -4/16, but those are both even numbers, and you can take 16 and divide it by 4. So if I factor out a +4, it becomes -1 times 4 divided by 4 times 4. We'll cancel out those 4s, and -4/16 is also -1/4. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. Our last one is x minus 9. X minus 9 set equal to 0 becomes x equals 9. So my 3 answers are x is 0, x is -1/4, and x is 9. 3 answers for that one, okay? Now number 7 is not in a factored form, right? It's x squared plus 8x minus 33 equals 0. X squared plus 8x minus 33 equals 0. We need to factor it, okay? So we need a number that multiplies, or sorry, a factor pair that multiplies to equal -33. I never leave myself enough room for these. And that adds to equal 8. Okay, -33 and 8. We have, it's going to add to a positive number. So and it's going to multiply to a negative number. So I need one of my factor pairs to be negative and the other positive, right? What negative and positive multiply to equal -33? Well, the biggest one, right? The biggest one would be -33 times 1. right? But if I subtract negative 33, or sorry, combine, add them together, negative 33 and 1 is negative 32, right? Positive 33 and negative 1 will give me a positive 32. So what I want to be doing is looking for factor pairs where the bigger factor of the two is positive. Okay, so you can skip over the other ones if you want. I've divided it by 1. I got negative 33. I can't divide it by 2 because it's not an even number. Can I take negative 33 and divide it by 3? I can, right? Negative 33 divided by 3 is negative 11. Negative 11 and positive 3. But remember, we need this number to be positive. So we actually want positive 11, negative 3. 11 minus 3 is 8. So these are our factor pairs. Because this a is just 1, we know that the factored form of x squared is x times x, right? If this wasn't a 1, we would do factoring by grouping, but because this is just a 1, we don't need to do factoring by grouping. So x times x, positive 11, negative 3. Okay, so that's the factored form. And remember, we need to set it equal to 0 because the 0 product principle requires that it is equal to 0. X minus 3 equals 0 means x is 3, right? I add 3 to both sides and I get x is 3. X plus 11 equals 0. X is negative 11 because I subtracted 11 from both sides. Number 8, x squared minus 14x plus 45. That might fit on the paper. So I need a pair of factors that will multiply to equal a positive 45 and that will add to equal a negative 14. That means if they're multiplying to get a positive and adding to get a negative, that means they're both negative. 45 could be 45 and 1. I said they're both negative, so negative 45 and negative 1. Can't divide it by 2. 45 divided by 3, is that 15? I think it's 15. If I add those together, I don't get 14. Can I divide it by 4? I cannot. Can I divide it by 5? Positive 45 divided by negative 5 is going to be a negative 9, right? Negative 9 and negative 5 add to negative 14. So x squared minus 4x plus 45 becomes x squared factors to x times x minus 9, x minus 5. Make sure you set it equal to 0, even if you run out of space, okay? X minus 9 is 0, x is 9. X minus 5 is 0, x is 5. Here we have x squared plus 4x equals 0. It's not a trinomial, it's just a binomial. When it's a binomial or in any situation, you just want to make sure you can't factor anything out of all of the terms. So the terms are x squared and 4x. You can factor out what? What can you factor out? You can factor out an x. So the factored form is x times x plus 4 is 0. Take each term or each factor pair and set it equal to 0. X equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. When we solve x plus 4 equals 0, we get x is negative 4. So my two answers are x is 0, x is negative 4. Good. Number 10, we can use the rule of perfect squares, right? Because 100 is 10 squared and x squared is x squared. 1, the square root of 1 is 1, right? So this is the difference of two perfect squares. The difference of two perfect squares is the rule is a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. Okay. The square root of 100x squared is 10x. So that's my a. And the square root of 1 is 1. So 100x squared minus 1 factors 2. 10 plus 1. Sorry, 10x plus 1. 10x minus 1. Good. 10x plus 1 equal to 0. 10x minus 1 equal to 0. I will subtract 1 from both sides, and I get 10x equals negative 1 divided by 10. And I get x is negative 1/10. Here I have 10x minus 1 equals 0, add 1, and I get 10x equals 1, divide by 10, divide by 10, x equals positive 1/10. So my answers are x is negative 1/10 and positive 1/10. Good? All right, 11. I have 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equals 0. Again, make sure there's nothing you can factor out of all three terms. There is not. Now we need to use the rule for when a, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c. A is 2, b is negative 3, c is negative 5, right? If a is not 1, we're going to use factoring by grouping, or if it's a small number, you can just kind of guess, right? You can say that it's going to be 2x times x, or you can do factoring by grouping and then kind of guess what it's going to be. Negative 5 and positive 1, or positive 1, positive 5 and negative 1. All right. So you can guess if it's a small number, or we can do factoring by grouping. Factoring by grouping, we need it to multiply to equal a times c, add to equal b. A times c is 2 times negative 5, so it needs to multiply to equal negative 10 and add to equal negative 3. Okay, what are the factors of negative 10? Well, we have negative 10, positive 1, positive 10, negative 1, divided by 2, we get negative 5, positive 5, negative 2. Is that all? That's all the factors of 10. Which one of those adds to a negative 3? Negative 10 plus 1 is negative 9, positive 9, negative 3, positive 3. So it's negative 5 and 2. Remember, we don't just say x squared minus, or sorry, x minus 5, x plus 2, because this can't be an x. 2x squared is not going to be x times x. So instead, we can either guess, okay, that's a different thing, but I'm doing the long way. So we're going to put a down here, 2x squared, put c down here, negative 5, make sure it's still equal to 0, and we take that negative 3 and we turn it into minus 5x plus 2x, right? Or it looks easier if I say 2x squared plus 2x minus 5x minus 5, right? Because then the 2's are next to each other and the negative 5's are next to each other, and we're doing factoring by grouping. It will still work if you do that version, but we can do this version. 2x squared minus 2x. We can factor out a 2x. It becomes 2x times 2x squared divided by 2x is x. 2x divided by 2x is positive 1. Here we have a negative 5x minus 5. Remember, if this is a minus sign, we have to carry it down with the factor. So whatever we're dividing out of 5x and 5 has to be negative, because that's a minus. Negative 5x can be divided by negative 5, as well as negative 5 can be divided by negative 5. That's how I picked it. So it's negative 5 times negative 5x divided by negative 5 is just x. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is plus 1. And we still got that equal to 0. What is a common factor here? We're going to factor it out. It's x plus 1. So now we have x plus 1 times, what's left when we cancel out the x plus 1? 2x minus 5. Good. So now we have 2x squared minus 3x minus 5. So we could have just guessed up here and said 2x minus 5, x plus 1. If we just gone through. Oh. All of the factors. Oh, of -5, sorry. So it was -5 and +1, or +5, -1, or -5, +1, +5, -1. So whichever you think is faster, or you like better, do that one. So we have 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 becomes x plus 1 times 2x minus 5. X plus 1 is 0. 2x minus 5 is 0. X is -1. 2x is 5. So x is 5 halves. Our two answers are x is -1 and x is 5 halves. Here we have x squared plus 6x equals 27. So this is the first one that is not set equal to 0. All you need to do now is set it equal to 0. Set it equal to 0 means this 27 needs to be a 0, just like this was a 0. To do that, what do I want? What is the difference between 27 and 0? A -27. Do it to this side, do it to this side. So now instead of x squared plus 6x, you have x squared plus 6x minus 27 is 27 minus 27 is 0. Good. All right, so now you can factor it. X squared plus 6x minus 27 is 0. We need, well, this is a, so we know x squared just becomes x times x equals 0. We need two numbers that multiply to equal -27, but add to equal a +6. If they're multiplying to a negative, it's going to be a negative times a positive. 27 is -27 and 1, +27 and -1. Can I divide it by 2? I don't think I can. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So it's either -9, +3, or +9, -3. Any other factors? 27 divided by 4. And you just keep going until you get back to that number that you already divided by. So those are all the factors of -27. Do any of them add to 6? This would be -26. That would be a +26. That would be a -6. And this would be a +6. So it's 9 and -3. And you just put it in like that. So this becomes x minus 3 equals 0 and x plus 9 equals 0. X is 3. X is -9. Good. All right, again, we have 36 on this side. Let's just subtract the 36. Anything I do to this side, I have to do to this side. X squared minus 9x minus 36 is 0. Good. That's a perfect square because that's 6 times 6. That's a perfect square because that's x times x. However, this -9x in the middle makes it so we cannot use a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times quantity a minus b. But those are perfect squares. Okay. Instead, we need it to multiply to equal negative 36 and add to equal 9. Oops, negative 9. Right? Multiply to equal negative 36, add to equal, I'm going to write it again. Multiply to equal negative 36, add to equal negative 9. Negative 36 is going to be negative 36 and 1, positive 36 and negative 1. 36 divided by 2 is 18. Negative 18, positive 2, positive 18, negative 2. 36 divided by 3, what do you think? Well, 30 is divisible by 6, or by 3, and 6 is divisible by 3, so it's going to be 12. Negative 12, 3, positive 12, negative 3, right? We need it to add to negative 9. I think it's this one. We could also keep going. 36 divided by 4. 9 and 4. That wouldn't add to negative 9. And then 36 divided by 5. No, 36 divided by 6 is 6. 6 and 6 would not equal negative 9. So it's negative 12 and 3. X minus 12. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 12 is 0, becomes X is 12. X plus 3 is 0, becomes X is negative 3. Good. All right. Number 14, x squared equals 5x. We need it to equal 0, so we're going to subtract the 5x. And it's not going to be x squared minus 5x is a negative 4x squared. Those are different terms. We can't combine them. They're not alike. So it's x squared minus 5x is 0. Now I can factor out, what can I factor out of x squared minus 5x? I can factor out an x. So this becomes x times x squared divided by x is x. Negative 5x divided by x is a negative 5. And we get x is 0. X minus 5 is 0. X is 5. So x is 0 or x is 5. Good. 15, the same. Just like this 5x we moved, the 56x we're going to move. It's a positive, so to cancel it, we're going to take the negative, so that 56x minus 56x becomes 0. And over here we get 49x squared minus 56x, because we're going to subtract 56x from both sides, plus 15 is 0. Good. All right. Now, can we divide anything out of 49, negative 56, and 15? What are the factors of 15? 15 and 1, 5 and 3, right? 49, we can't divide it by 15, right? Nope. 49 divided by, what's another factor of 15? 5? I don't think so. And 49 divided by 3, you think? Nope. All right, so there's nothing we can factor out of all 3 of them. It's just going to be a really big number that we're going to try to find the factors of. So 49x squared minus 49x squared minus 56x plus 15 is 0. We need numbers that will multiply to equal 15 times 49. 735. And add to equal negative 56. Good. So that's a positive. Those are negatives. So we're looking for two negative numbers. So negative 735, negative 1, 735 divided by 2. It's not going to work because it's an odd number. 735 divided by 3, 245, negative 245, negative 3. 735 divided by 4, it won't work because it's even, and 735 is odd. Divided by 5, and we get 147, negative 5. If we combine those, we're not getting a small enough negative number, right? So let's keep going. 735 divided by, we can't divide it by 6. Can we divide it by 7? 7, 105. Seven 35 divided by 9. I'm skipping all the odd numbers, or all the even numbers. 735 divided by 11. 735 divided by 13. 735 divided by 15. 15 and 49. Negative 49, negative 15. Do those add to 56? Negative 49 minus 15. Negative 64. We're close. All right, we got to 15. Let's keep going. 735 divided by 17. 735 divided by 19. 735 divided by 21. 35. Negative 35, negative 21. If I add those, will I get negative 56? I will. So it's negative 21 and negative 35. Remember, because it's not just x squared, it's 49x squared, we bring the 49x squared down. 49x squared. B becomes negative 35x and negative 21x. And then C stays the same, so plus 15. Good. And now we're going to factor by grouping. So we have 9x squared minus 21x, or sorry, 49x squared minus 21. 9. 49 divided by 21. No. What is another factor of 21? 21 divided by 1, 21 divided by 3 is 7, right? So 49 divided by 7 is 7. So I'm going to divide both of these by a positive 7x. Why did I decide positive? Because the leading term is positive, okay? So that becomes 7x. 49x squared divided by 7x is 7x. Negative 21x divided by 7 is a negative 3. Now we're looking over here. Negative 35 and a positive 15. You can divide them both by 5, right? But this is a negative, so it's going to be a negative 5. Negative 35x divided by negative 5 is a positive 7x. 15 divided by negative 5 is a negative 3. So we have two parts. They have a binomial in common, so we're going to factor out that binomial. And what we get is 7x minus 3 times 7x minus 5 equals 0. Now we just solve for x. 7x minus 3 is 0. 7x is 3. Divide by 7. Divide by 7. X equals 3/7. 7x divided by, sorry, minus 5 is 0. 7x equals 5. Divide by 7. And x equals 5/7. So those are my two answers for number 15. Last one is number 16. I don't think I can fit it. 5x squared minus 30x plus 5 equals negative 20. All right, I see two things about this. Did I copy it down right? I didn't. It's plus 30 equals negative 20. I see that I can factor out a 5 and that it's not set equal to 0. What should I do? Should I factor it first, or should I set it equal to 0 first? I should set it equal to 0 first. Correct. So it's a negative 20. We're just going to add 20. We're going to put it right below the 5 because those are like terms. 5x squared plus 30x plus 25 is 0. Now we can factor out the 5. Five times the quantity, 5x squared divided by 5 is just x squared. 30x divided by 5 is 6x. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. So now we have the factor pairs, or sorry, the factors of 5 and the quantity x squared plus 6x plus 5. Take this and factor it. Keep going. So we'll leave the 5 out here, but what happens to x squared plus 6x plus 5? So it needs to multiply to equal 5 and add to equal 6. I think it's just 5 times 1, right? 5 times 1 is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6. So it's just x plus 5, x plus 1. So down here, 5 times the quantity x squared minus 6x, plus 6x plus 5 becomes 5 times the quantity x plus 5 times the quantity x plus 1. Still equals 0. Good. You don't need another set of parentheses around it because that's a multiplication and that's a multiplication. And it doesn't matter the order. You could say x plus 1 times 5 times x plus 5. All right, set them equal to 0. 5 is equal to 0. X plus 5 is equal to 0. And x plus 1 is equal to 0. 5 equals 0. It's just not true. It doesn't, you don't have to do anything with that 5 because there's no variable there. Okay. It doesn't equal 0, but that doesn't matter. Just ignore it and use the ones, use the factor pairs that have an x or a variable to find the variable. 5 doesn't equal 0, but that's okay. X plus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5. X is negative 5. X plus 1. X is negative 1. So our answers are x is negative 5 and x is negative 1. Good. All right, guys, thank you so much. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.